those who just listen on audio, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll see you Thursday on The Political Beatdown with Michael Cohen and Ben Meiselas. To the Beatdown Brigade, we say thank you, and a special shout out to the Midas Mighty. I'm Ben Meiselas from the Midas Touch Network, and this is a breaking news alert. A 5-judge appellate panel in the state of New York has just ruled unanimously that the sanctions imposed on Donald Trump by the lower trial court judge, Justice Arthur Engoron, for contempt in the special proceeding brought by Letitia James, where Trump was sanctioned $110,000 for discovery abuses as part of the contempt order, has hereby been affirmed by the Court of Appeals. The Court of Appeals ruled that Justice Arthur Engoron appropriately exercised his discretion, that Donald Trump deserved to be sanctioned $110,000. You may recall Justice Arthur Engoron's sanction order came down in April of 2022 when Donald Trump was not responding appropriately to the discovery requests in New York Attorney General Letitia James' special proceeding. So just to remind you, the special proceeding was kind of the investigatory process led by the Attorney General's office under a special statute in the state of New York that empowers the attorney generals to conduct these investigations of businesses that may be engaging in financial fraud and financial crimes. That special proceeding, the evidence gathered there, then led to the filing in September by Letitia James and the New York Attorney General's office, where they filed a civil fraud lawsuit against Donald Trump, the Trump Organization, and Donald Trump's adult children, seeking at least $250 million in damages, as well as an injunction which would essentially shut down the Trump Organization from conducting business in New York, as well as the other individually named defendants like Donald Trump and his adult children. That trial is currently scheduled to take place October 3rd. Of 2023. But this sanctions order came down as part of the precursor to the lawsuit, the special proceeding. You may also just recall in that special proceeding, that is where Donald Trump invoked his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination over 400 times. We got access to that video here at the Midas Touch Network and played that video where Trump invoked his Fifth Amendment rights repeatedly over and over again. So I want to tell you, though, what this appellate court, that's basically the Court of Appeals, the intermediate court, that is the court above the trial court, ruled, because Donald Trump and Alina Habba, his lawyer, appealed the sanctions order by Justice Arthur Engoron and said that they shouldn't have been held in contempt, that Justice Arthur Engoron was biased, that the order was defective. But here, the appeals court found that the New York Attorney General's office had established clear and convincing evidence that Donald Trump's discovery responses were completely defective and, quote, prejudicially violated the law, clear mandate of the court, which Donald Trump had knowledge of. The Court of Appeals went on to say that Justice Arthur Engoron, the trial court, the court correctly found and adequately recited that the violation was calculated to and actually did impair the New York Attorney General's rights or remedies, it went on to say. The Court of Appeals further stated, quote, "We further find that the financial sanction to compel compliance was a proper exercise of the court's discretionary power and was not excessive or otherwise improper under the particular circumstances. Now, one of the things that occurred after the lower court, after Justice Arthur Engoron made the sanctions order, Engoron basically said, Mr. Trump, I know you take your business seriously. I take mine seriously. So I am hereby sanctioning you for contempt of this court for your discovery abuses, and then bang the gavel down. So based on that, Donald Trump's horrific lawyer, all his lawyers are horrific, Alina Habba, though, basically says this shows bias. This shows Justice Arthur Engoron is against Donald Trump. And then Alina Habba argued the tactics employed by this court, including the dramatic pounding of the gavel, the statements directed to our client from the bench, and direct comments to the press, have reduced this hearing to the likes of a public spectacle. Really, Alina Habba? You're saying that Justice Arthur Engoron sanctioning you for your heinous abuses of the law, that is the spectacle? How about the spectacle is that Donald Trump sleeps with classified folders in his bedroom, and he's got lawyers saying that he uses it to block out the blue light that shows up on his landline? How about that? How about the spectacle that Donald Trump stole top secret and sensitive compartmented information from our government, including nuclear secrets about other countries, and concealed and obstructed justice? How about that spectacle? How about the spectacle by that traitorous fascist Donald Trump continuing to call for the termination of our Constitution, continuing to attack federal prosecutors, continuing to try to undermine faith in our democracy and our institutions, aided and abetted by the likes of stupid, wannabe, fascist cult members just like you, Alina Habba? Well, here, the Court of Appeals, the appellate division in New York, comprised of 5 judges, in a unanimous ruling said, no, Donald Trump, you're wrong. You get sanctioned $110,000. Justice Arthur Engoron, you got it right. That was an appropriate sanctions order. So, Donald Trump, you are a loser yet again. And yet again, Donald Trump just keeps on getting sanctioned now, which is a very good thing that courts are finally also saying enough is enough. And of course, we've talked about the other sanctions order, a federal sanctions order, this time that came from federal judge Donald Middlebrooks, a federal judge from the Southern District of Florida, who granted basically $1 million of sanctions against Donald Trump and his lawyer, Alina Habba, commonality, Alina Habba in both of these cases, for filing a frivolous lawsuit, and then an amended complaint against Hillary Clinton and basically half of Washington, D.C. back in March of 2022, which the judge basically says, this is just a ranting and rambling political manifesto. You're not even asserting any claims, and not just some things are frivolous. Every accusation you are making here is false and frivolous. So Donald Trump was sanctioned there. Trump and Alina Habba have appealed that sanctions order, and I suspect they're going to get the same result there that they just received in the New York State Appellate District, where they have lost the appeal and now actually have to pay the $110,000. Now, you're probably saying $110,000 is not a lot of money. That is, for Donald Trump, that is. It's a lot of money for the rest of us. It's not a lot of money for Donald Trump. And you would be right by saying that. But these sanction orders will continue to add up. So $1 million here, $110,000 there, and you keep adding up these sanctions orders by Donald Trump over time. And now that he's being established in court rulings as a vexatious litigant, as someone who files frivolous and bogus claims, we can expect that those sanction orders will continue to mount, will continue to pile up, and it will be a deterrent. How do we know it will be a deterrent? I'll give you an example. Because Donald Trump has dismissed some of the other lawsuits that were flagged by Judge Donald Middlebrooks in his sanctions order. So Donald Trump voluntarily dismissed, for example, a frivolous lawsuit that he had filed in Florida against New York Attorney General Letitia James. He also dismissed a case that was on appeal within the Second Circuit Court of Appeals that Donald Trump had filed in a federal court in New York and Syracuse, where Donald Trump lost that case, and he had withdrew that appeal before the Second Circuit. So Trump has voluntarily removed some of the lawsuits. He still has a lot of frivolous ones pending, but ultimately there is now this sentiment amongst the judiciary labeling him as a vexatious litigant. And that is very, very important, folks. Let me read for you right now, though, the statement that came out of New York Attorney General Letitia James' office about the order. She says, "Once again, the courts have ruled that Donald Trump is not above the law. For years, he tried to stall and thwart our lawful investigation into his financial dealings, but today's decision sends a clear message that there are consequences for abusing the legal system. We will not be bullied or dissuaded from pursuing justice." It goes on to say, New York Attorney General Letitia James released the following statement after the Appellate Division, First Department, ruled in favor of Attorney General Letitia James and upheld a ruling ordering Donald Trump to pay $110,000 fine to the Office of Attorney General after he was found in contempt of court for his refusal to comply with the Office of Attorney General's subpoena as part of its investigation. Then it goes on to recount the history about how in April of 2022, Justice Engoron of the New York County State Supreme Court ruled that Trump was in contempt of court for failing to comply with his previous orders to comply with the Office of Attorney General's subpoena to provide documents, and imposed a $10,000 fine on Mr. Trump for every day that he violated the court's order to comply with the subpoena. And then in May 2022, Trump appealed that to the First Appellate Department. Trump is the loser yet again. I'm Ben Meiselas from the Midas Touch Network. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 1 million subscribers thanks to your incredible support. So hit the subscribe button right now. In addition to hitting the subscribe button now, check us out at patreon.com/MidasTouch, patreon.com/MidasTouch. I think you'll love the exclusive content we have at Patreon. We just posted an exclusive podcast there about the background of the making of Killing County, a documentary on Hulu I executive produced with Colin Kaepernick about the crime, corruption, and cover-up that takes place in Bakersfield, Kevin McCarthy's district. So check that out. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's free to subscribe. We're on our way to 1 million subscribers. So please, please help grow this community and hit the subscribe button right now. Until next time, I am Ben Meiselas. Thank you so much.
Our blue wall stopped the red wave and election deniers got denied election. That's why we're celebrating with the new Democracy Prevails team. We've got lots of work to do, but we should all be proud that when democracy was tested, democracy prevailed. You've earned this. Don't wait. Get yours right now at store.midastouch.com. That's store.midastouch.com.